It is a world apart, an oceanic outpost where wildlife has evolved in isolation for thousands of years. Here, every plant and animal is an integral part of a unique, self-sustaining ecosystem. But this is a fragile place, where the slightest human touch can be profound, pushing it to the brink of ecological disaster. Rising up from the Pacific like a strand of floating fortresses, the Channel Islands beckon us to their rugged shores. Of the 5 islands that make up the Channel Islands National Park, Santa Cruz Island is the largest of these wild refuges.
Santa Cruz Island is like taking a step back in time to what Southern California used to be like about 150 years ago. It is a special place with unique species that are found only on Santa Cruz Island and nowhere else in the world.
Recognized as a biological gem, in 1978 the Nature Conservancy purchased the majority of Santa Cruz Island from a retired rancher. But the landscape they inherited was an ecosystem that had been unraveling for decades. Like the Galapagos Islands of South America, the Channel Islands provided a rare opportunity for species to evolve in isolation for thousands of years. But in the mid-1800s, pigs and sheep were introduced by European settlers, and eventually formed large feral populations numbering in the tens of thousands. In the 1950s, the island was struck by another blow, this one from offshore. Bald eagles, which depend on fish as their primary food source, were all but wiped out by a combination of indiscriminate hunting and the birds' consumption of the pesticide DDT, which affected their ability to reproduce. The stage was set for a new inhabitant to colonize Santa Cruz Island. Golden eagles ventured over from the mainland, lured by the promise of easy prey. Weighing just 4 to 5 pounds, the island fox had long been the island's top predator, living without the threat of being hunted by other animals. But now, for the first time, the foxes had become easy prey, and the results were catastrophic.
The Santa Cruz Island fox was on the point of extinction. It numbered fewer than 100.
Biologists realized that the island's only hope was to initiate an aggressive restoration plan built on solid science and long-term commitment. In the early 80s, a program to remove sheep was initiated. It was the first step toward addressing the degradation of the landscape. After the sheep were removed, the island was granted a reprieve, a chance for vegetation to regenerate, for the landscape to stabilize. Over the next 2 decades, 44 golden eagles would be relocated to mainland California. But as long as feral pigs, their main food source, continued to roam the island, new golden eagles would continue to be sustained on the island, and the ecosystem would remain in jeopardy. And the fate of the island foxes would still hang in the balance. The daunting task of removing the pigs was handled by a team of experts from New Zealand, with a long history of eradication projects focused on non-native and invasive species. By the end of 2006, the last of the over 5,000 pigs had been removed from the island. With the removal of the pigs, the golden eagles could no longer be sustained, opening the gates for the reintroduction of bald eagles on Santa Cruz Island. Soon, the multifaceted restoration plan had begun to show results. For the first time in over 50 years, a bald eagle chick successfully hatched on Santa Cruz Island. Today, there are 8 nesting pairs of bald eagles on the island, and the island fox population numbers over 1,300, on track for delisting in the near future. As for the island's native plants and trees, signs of recovery are sprouting across the island. But the island's plants and animals aren't the only beneficiaries of the restored ecosystem. the collaborative restoration effort on Santa Cruz has yielded unprecedented results. By establishing Santa Cruz as a national park, the island and its inhabitants now have the promise of stewardship, a promise to preserve the delicate balance of life here, now and for generations to come. Places like Santa Cruz Island remind us of what we have lost, of how fragile our natural heritage can be, and how the spirit of hope, combined with the power of science and collaboration, can produce extraordinary outcomes.